Focus on Sochi, just, of course, before the Winter Olympics kick up.
That's right. There's a great article in the International New York Times today on the front page that says that the first event has already kicked off, and that's the construction sprint. According to this article, just days before the games start, Sochi looks like a big construction site, work in progress. There are unfinished hotels, half-finished stores, and a mall where the only shop that's open and thriving is a Cinnabon. So according to the International New York Times, they better get cracking because it's starting in just a couple of days. Now, the Wall Street Journal, meanwhile, looks at the cost of these Olympics at $50 billion. Sochi is the most expensive games in the Olympic game history. Now, this is roughly 4 times what Vladimir Putin said that it was going to cost back in 2007. Now, the Wall Street Journal says that a lot of this is due to the scale of these Olympics, which is just massive. But critics also say it's due to corruption. But the truth of the matter is Putin is quite upset with the cost of these games. And according to this article, he's been lashing out against certain scapegoats. For instance, 2 brothers who were in charge of the ski jump. It cost way too much, according to the Wall Street Journal. And so, as you can read the title here, this cost overrun, well, it led to the downfall of these 2 Russian moguls.
And a lot of focus as well on the media's coverage of the games. As we said, they haven't even started yet.
That's right. According to the Daily Beast, though, there's already one winner, and that's terrorists. This is a piece that points out that they've captured the gold medal for the most Olympic media coverage to date. Now, actually, if you do a quick search online, you'll see that actually a lot of the articles are about terrorism and not the athletes who are going to be competing in the Olympic Games. And in fact, this article wonders, can you even name an athlete who's going to be competing in the Games? According to this article, the terrorists must be loving this. The more press they attract, the more powerful they appear. And the more powerful they appear, the more terror they can instill.
Moving on, Nelson Mandela back in the press today. His will being read in Johannesburg yesterday.
That's right. The Mail and Guardian, so that the South African paper, focuses on one aspect, and this is the fact that Winnie gets nothing from Mandela's will. So this is his second wife. She was not mentioned in the will. His $4 million estate is going to go to members of his family, the ruling African National Congress, former staff, and several local schools. But another article in The Independent points out that this is expected to set off another round of squabbling in his large and factious family over his financial legacy.
A lot of focus as well on something that Stephen was telling us about yesterday, actually. This is the 10th year anniversary of Facebook. We were saying, I can't believe it's 10 years.
10 years already, that's right. The Slate takes a look at this. 10 years ago, 19-year-old Mark Zuckerberg started thefacebook.com in his Harvard dorm room. Actually, Slate takes a trip down memory lane, and you can take a look at what Facebook looked like back in the day. And actually, it's put together a timeline since the birth of Facebook, from the poke to the like button. Now, the Washington Post also focuses on Facebook today and points out that 10 years on, 1 billion people across the world use Facebook. It's radically transformed a lot of people's lives, well, at least their cyber lives, but it's also raised a lot of privacy concerns, and this is what the Washington Post is focusing on today. They focus on Mark Zuckerberg's theory of privacy, which is to share everything to make the world a better place, but this article tends to disagree with that and says that the problem is that people have really lost control over their very private information, and it hopes that Facebook will change this.
And finally, the media are continuing to react to the death of the American actor Philip Seymour Hoffman, apparently anyway, of a drugs overdose.
That's right. The Daily Beast takes a look at the latest details in the police investigation, and that, Hoffman was found in his bathroom with a syringe in his arm and 5 empty heroin envelopes in the trash can. Now, the New York Times points out that this really points to a surge in a grim trade, and that is the heroin trade. This article says that New York is awash with cheap heroin. It goes for about $6 a packet on the streets. This article points out that after years of decline, the number of heroin-related overdose deaths has increased. It was at 382 in 2012, so that's more than one a day. Now, this reflects an increasing young and middle-class clientele who often move from prescription drugs to heroin. This article wonders, why is there another rise in this use of heroin? It points out that people are talking about a generational amnesia, because the last time there was a heroin epidemic was in the 1970s, so roughly 40 years ago, and it seems like a lot of people have lost the memory of that devastating drug.
All the international papers summed up for you by Flo Villanelle and France Lancat. Coming up for you, all the latest news, particularly today on France 24, focusing on the first trial here in France of a suspected perpetrator in the Rwandan genocide. I'll be speaking to an expert after the break, so don't go away.